Hey guys, Bill here. You probably heard about that TV series called Whale Wars, right? That's that program on Animal Planet that shows the battle between Japanese whalers and whale activists. What you may not have heard of is the war over sharks that's going on in Australia.
We've got people in the water! Get back!
You need to release that shark!
This war is between government authorities in Western Australia who are trying to stop shark attacks on humans and shark lovers who are trying to stop government attacks on sharks.
The state government is signalling tougher action to protect beach users against sharks.
How this all got started is pretty simple. Western Australia is a mecca for tourism. It's an area filled with great beaches, and a big part of their economy is dependent on lots of people having a good vacation there. But over the last few years, shark attacks on people swimming at some of those Western Australian beaches have been growing. Just look at this graph showing a spike in the last few years. Now, some people say this is only because there are more people in the water. Others blame it on chumming by fishermen, and some even say it's due to sharks gaining protected status under Australian law. In response, the Western Australian government came up with what they call the Shark Mitigation Program. Professional fishermen, along with experts from the Australian Fisheries Department, laid 72 drum lines to bait and hook the sharks. Sharks caught on the bait hooks that were over 10 feet were tagged and released. Sharks that were too small got a bullet to the head and dumped back into the ocean. Now, as you might imagine, protests over the shark culling program erupted.
It's their water! Stop the water! It's their water! Stop the water! It's their water! Stop the water!
Animal activists, surfers, politicians, and citizens of all sorts claimed the program added to the general demise of sharks and would not solve the problem.
They are attacking our healthy marine environment.
On the other side, the government said the decision was clear.
At the end of the day, it was up to me to make a judgment. Do I protect human life or the sharks? And I come down on the side of protecting human life.
Joining the government in support of the shark mitigation program are families who lost loved ones to sharks and an Australian Association of Lifeguards.
Queensland have been using drum lines for a number of years now. There's only been one fatality, and as a consequence to that, we believe that it's a good initiative to put across here.
Other supporters of the government program are a variety of fishermen and tourism interests that include dive operators.
We've had people who walked in with their dive gear and they drop their dive gear off and they'll go, "Thanks, Simon, look, you can have that. I'm not going to dive again. I'm too scared."
Despite the powerful economic incentives to support the shark cull, a poll in a local newspaper showed most of its respondents were against it. The possible reason for this is that the protesters were just a lot better at communicating their message. In a documentary by filmmaker Madison Stewart, the raw day-to-day shark battles between the government and the protesters was recorded in full living color.
Fisheries constantly change their methods to prevent us from documenting the wounds inflicted on the animals they dump. This time they would drop the animal down their tender ramp while their boat was still moving. Only this time, we wouldn't let her fall. Up close we could check if she was still alive. We could see and document her wounds. It was no more than 10 seconds of the shark being secured that fisheries saw what we had done. They turned around.
We've got people in the water! Get back!
We kept filming. They kept yelling, telling us we were interfering with their fishing operations. What felt like hours was less than 5 minutes, and the shark was let go.
Madison told me she made the video so that the public could see the truth up close. She said that some of the smaller sharks that were under 10 feet and not supposed to be killed died anyway because they weren't taken off the hooks fast enough. Those that were released were often still in shock and couldn't swim on their own.
This shark was released alive by fisheries. Their only action towards helping it survive was telling our divers that if they were to touch the animal, they would be fined. Negligence and recklessness, shark after shark, day after day, hook shark after shark, day after day, hook after hook. All in the name of trying to preserve that unique lifestyle of Western Australia.
By the end of the 3-month program, 172 sharks were captured. Of those, 52 tiger sharks were destroyed because they were longer than 10 feet. No great white sharks were captured or killed during the program, even though great whites were solely responsible for the attacks on humans. The Australian government would like to continue their program for another 3 years, and that, my friends, brings me to the question of the day. Do you think the Australian government should continue with their shark mitigation program as is? Or do you think there's another way to protect humans from sharks while not destroying so many sharks? Let me know what your ideas are in the comments section.